My name is Megan Jordan, and this presentation is for the Board of Directors for Megan's Marketing. This is to discuss doing business in China, what their basic customs are, what their eating habits are, and what business norms are in China in lieu of what they are in America. First, I want to talk about gift giving. You should never give gifts in the office in China because they consider it bribery. If you are going to give gifts outside of the office, there are a couple of things that you need to be aware of. First, they usually refuse gifts a couple of times before they accept them. This is to show modesty and to show that they're not greedy. So if somebody refuses your gift like one or two times, don't be offended by that because that's just tradition over there. There are a couple of things that you should not give as gifts. One of them is a clock. This is a sign of hastening someone towards death. So it's definitely not good to give that. Another thing that you should never give is shoes, because that is a symbolizes walking away, and it symbolizes the end of a relationship. So especially if you're trying to do business with that person, don't give them shoes. A couple of gifts that are good to give are chocolate, and that is viewed as a luxury gift, and then wine. Wine symbolizes a toast for their good health. So those are a couple things that you can definitely give, and it will be greatly appreciated. Another thing that is refused a couple of times before it's accepted are compliments. It's considered impolite to accept a compliment or to say thank you to a compliment because it's a sign of vanity. So if you give somebody a compliment and they don't accept it, or they say no, that's not them being rude. That's just another custom in China. And if somebody gives you a compliment, make sure you know the appropriate way to handle that and don't say thank you. Just like in America, pointing is considered rude. The difference between China and America is in China, you're not even supposed to point at objects. Instead, if you want to gesture towards something, you need to put your hand flat and gesture towards it like that. Make sure your fingers don't go up and they remain flat as well. One thing that if you're going to do business in China, you need to be aware of is people sleep in public. They sleep on buses, trains, they sleep in their cars, they'll sleep just on the street. Don't let that offend you, because that's very normal in China. There's even a whole page dedicated to people sleeping in public. Like, this guy goes around and he takes pictures, and so it's very normal. Eating plays a very important role in Chinese culture. You have to be very careful about where you put your chopsticks if you're going to use chopsticks, because if you put them facing down, like directly into the rice, then it symbolizes wishing death to everybody at the table. So make sure you don't do that. Put your chopsticks beside your bowl. Another thing that you never want to do is if you're making a gesture of something with your hands, don't ever have your chopsticks in your hands, because that's considered rude. It's very custom in China for a table to order several large plates of food and then just share it between the table. It's also considered a sign of prosperity if you order more food than you're going to eat. If somebody's ever invited you to dinner and you finish your plate, don't be offended if the hostess orders more food, because if there's ever a clean plate and the table is out of food, the hostess will order more food to make sure that everybody at the table is satisfied and full. So it's actually okay and preferable if you don't finish everything on your plate, because then the hostess will know that you are full and you're satisfied and you're good. Tea is often the drink of choice in China. When you do have a cup of tea, the hostess will never let your teacup go empty. She'll always make sure that it's full and you're happy. And one tradition, in order to say thank you to the hostess if she refills your teacup, is to tap on the table instead of saying thank you. Rice is also a staple in Chinese culture, especially in South China. Okay, business norms in China. So just like in America, the Chinese businessman is going to expect you to come prepared to the meeting. A handshake is a good greeting, but let the Chinese business partner initiate the handshake. They usually enter the meeting in order of hierarchy, so if you're not conducting the meeting, don't be the first one to the meeting because they're going to expect you to be the one conducting it. If you are conducting the meeting, make sure that you're the first person there because they expect you to be. If you are conducting a meeting, make sure you allow 10 to 15 minutes of just normal chat before the business meeting, because people in China like to build a relationship before they're going to sign any deal with you or close or anything like that. When it comes to decision making, make sure you don't stick by a dead set deadline, because a lot of the times the people in China, they'll go past that deadline. They want to make sure that they're making the right decision, and if you pressure them, it's not going to be good for you. So patience is definitely appreciated by the people in China when it comes to deadlines. One thing that the Chinese businessman always does is he controls his emotions at a meeting. He will never show too much emotion or cause embarrassment to himself, because that could have a negative impact on your business deal. She'll make sure that you don't show too much emotion either. And they always have very good body posture. They're always very attentive, and it shows a sign of self-control and respect. Make sure you keep your hands out of your face. If you have your hands in your mouth, or if you're biting your lip, or if you're chewing your nails, it's considered very rude in China, which it kind of is in America too. Make sure when you dress in a very conservative way. Bright colors are a sign of inadequacy in the business world, so mute colors whenever you're meeting with the people of China. Punctuality is also extremely important in China. Do not be late to your business meetings. When your meeting is concluded, the Chinese businessman will always be the last out of the room, so don't hang out and wait, because they will be the last people out. And they are very accustomed to exchanging business cards. So what I would do is I would have a business card, have English on one side, have Chinese on the other side, offer it to them with the Chinese side up, so they know that there's a Chinese side and so they can read it. And always have your professional title on those business cards. Those are just a few tips of doing business in China, and I hope it works for Megan's Marketing.